Absolutely. And in the scenarios where we have seen and had to deal with the criminals, their customer service is phenomenal. They will go through the process. They'll thank you for your business because they understand that the minute they don't actually release the data, it'll no longer be a business. It'll just be crooks. And so now we're in between this balance of we want to protect, and we urge, and I know the FBI urges, don't pay the ransom. But if you do not have a backup or a restoration plan, and your entire entity goes out of business, what's your alternative?
All right, no doubt you can tell this is going to be a great episode. First, a thank you to our sponsors, Fixed Ops Marketing, Parts Edge, Bailey, Dynatron Software, Dealer Scanning, and Recall Masters. They're all linked up in the show notes. Make sure you visit them. They will help accelerate your Fixed Ops department. Quantum 5 knows training in automotive is broken. Training has been a singular event for too long, and the impact on people and dealers is unfair. Meet Quantum 5, a training program that helps your whole team improve their skills in a way that translates to more profit, greater CSI, retention of customers and employees, and a culture change that impacts the customer experience. A blend of in-person learning experiences, creation of a dealership learning community for post-training success, and goal setting for accountability is the key to unlocking transformative change. The results? Your people sell more. Additional appointments are created. Your leaders are more effective. Service BDCs produce measurable ROI, and your customers gain a better experience, leading to higher CSI scores. Reach out to us today, quantum5.ai. Welcome back, everybody. Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast. We are excited to have as our guest today, Ted Clouser. Ted, introduce yourself to our guests for those who don't know who you are, and then if you could tell us what your first car was.
Well, I appreciate that, Dave. Thanks for the introduction. It's an honor to be on. My name is Ted Clouser. I am president and CEO of PCA Technology Solutions in Little Rock, Arkansas. We are a technology consulting firm. We refer to ourselves as your IT coach. And the pillars that we stand on is we are a cybersecurity firm. We also do managed IT services, which is very similar to outsourced help desk. So small and medium businesses will leverage our company to handle all of their IT needs. We do voice over IP. And then lastly, we do the higher end VCIO consulting and education. And as far as my first car, I grew up at a dairy farm in central Pennsylvania. So I had a white Ford Escort. That was at age 14. I ran it. I backed down the hill in a tree on the farm. So I don't really ever consider it my first. My first was, the one I consider first when I was 16, was a black Chevy pickup, 1980, with a cab. All right. So big ladies magnet. Not exactly.
That's awesome. My first was a 1976 Chevrolet Caprice Classic. So
okay,
it was about as big as your pickup truck.
There you go. Well, mine was 3 in a tree. How about yours?
No, this was an automatic.
Okay,
so,
all right. Well,
but the nice giant bench seat in the front.
Right.
That's good stuff. I can put my 2-door Jeep Wrangler in the trunk of that car now, I think.
Yeah, things have changed quite a bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about cybersecurity. Obviously something people hear about, hear a lot about these days, right? With ransomware and all kinds of other things. I get notifications seems like every day that my email was breached somewhere, and or some account was breached, and you got to change your password and that kind of stuff. What do you think is at the root of all that, other than money? Obviously,
I was going to say, no doubt,
above
hands
money.
down, it's money. A couple things come to mind, Dave. First is, I do believe that there is a high probability that World War III is going to be a cyber battle. We may already be in it. There are real threats from other countries where they are incentivized to attack, and obviously there is financial incentive in it. So, I would be remiss to not point that out. But at the end of the day, the majority of the cyber risks are really about manipulation. You're getting those emails because they are trying to trick you into doing something or clicking something that you shouldn't. The days of the viruses, I've been in this business for 25 plus years, and it used to be that I would think of a virus as graffiti on a wall. It was a nuisance. You had to go scrape it and paint it and fix it, but it wasn't really a big deal. Now it is a true business, millions, potentially billions of dollars in this industry. So you're seeing ransomware for hire. You're seeing opportunities for this to become its whole business platform, essentially, and sadly to say. But it is all about manipulation. So the key are the tools, no doubt, but it's also the education. It's the raising of awareness.
Yeah, I was at a dealership group. I won't name the dealership group, but that was attacked in a ransomware attack.
Right.
Big group, and shut us down for over 10 days. We couldn't use our computers. They wound up replacing every computer in the dealerships, in all the stores, because they just couldn't. They thought they had it taken care of, and then people started powering back up, and the things started coming back, and so they ended up, replacing all hard drives and all kinds of other stuff. Cost millions and millions of dollars on top of whatever business was lost. It's crazy to me as a tech idiot to even fathom how something like that happens. I got a text on my phone yesterday, and it said there was a problem with your Citizens Bank account. Click here to straighten it out. I don't even have a Citizens Bank account, right? But if I did, I know better than to click on the links. But some people, people don't, right? And then
curiosity killed the bank account or the computer or whatever you want to say. But just to talk about that situation with the dealership, that is going to be a highly sophisticated attack. It whether it was targeted for a specific reason or it was simply targeted just because, they study for months, and they understand if they get inside and they're able to ransom, they know enough about that organization of what that organization can afford. So if a $1 million payout is very feasible, they'll ask for it. If you have a smaller organization that simply could never pay $1 million, well, maybe $50,000 is their threshold. So a lot of research is done by the criminals to determine, okay, I'm going after this, and I have a high probability of getting paid because I know the threshold.
That's interesting to think of it that way, like that they actually have a business model that they're following, right? They're not just going out and attacking and going, well, we'll just see how much money we can get from them.
Absolutely. And in the scenarios where we have seen and had to deal with the criminals, their customer service is phenomenal. They will go through the process. They'll thank you for your business because they understand that the minute they don't actually release the data, it'll no longer be a business. It'll just be crooks. And so now we're in between this balance of, we want to protect, and we urge, and I know the FBI urges, don't pay the ransom. But if you do not have a backup or a restoration plan and your entire entity goes out of business, what's your alternative? So obviously the key then is to make sure that you have a disaster recovery plan. But some of these sophisticated attacks have taken those out as well.
Wow. So in a disaster recovery plan, and I'll pretend like I'm not a tech idiot for a minute. So that plan, it would seem to me that should not be connected to your network. But if they take that out also, is it because they coordinated attack on that place
can be both.
also,
I mean,
or they were connected and shouldn't have been?
No, it can be both. I mean, there are still backup systems that are connected. Unfortunately, you need to have some segregation between the on-premise or the cloud solution and the backup repository. They need to be not in a constant active mode. But again, some of the sophistication and some of the trickery has involved getting account credentials that have such a high level that it doesn't matter. They still can have access.
Well, that makes sense. And I suppose you have to connect the two at some point to exchange that data, right? So,
of course. And so many of these attacks, they are watching for, as I mentioned, months. So a lot of times they will have actually breached, let's say today, well, the attack D-Day comes in 9 months because they've got to study your organization. Again, it goes back to that business plan. They're going to learn all of your routines. They're going to learn all of your systems. And so that makes the attack even that more successful because of all the time. They're very patient. Believe it or not, because after the ransom, after the attack, then it's all fear and you've got 24 hours to pay or we'll destroy your data. But through the entire process, they have been very, very patient.
It is very interesting that it's, I mean, I guess because it does all come down to money, right? There's a lot of drivers there and there's a lot of money involved. And so I guess it would make sense that they would be very sophisticated to pull
Absolutely.
these things off. What do you see as I'll call it a mistake that a lot of organizations make that open them up to something like this?
Well, we talk a lot about what we call cyber hygiene. And so poor cyber hygiene is a big part of it. And what that simply means is we believe that security is about layers. And so you need to have multiple layers of protection. If you have a gap in any one of those layers, it becomes a risk. And then if your most important layer per se, and that is the people layer, if they cause the problem or they get click happy or they release information that they shouldn't, that tends to make you the most vulnerable. Let's think of it as a house, right? So you've put in this high-end security system in your house, but you've also got a lock on the knob. You have a deadbolt. You even go ahead and put a chain in there. You've got the security system that notifies your phone. You've got cameras. You are set. Nobody's going to break in your house unless someone turns off the alarm, off the security system, removes the chain, opens the deadbolt, and lets them in the front door. So I think what's so essential is the people piece. And we as technology experts can put in the best technology all day long. But if we forget to train the people, then it doesn't matter because they'll let them in the front door.
And that opening of that front door could be the link sent to an email or something of
Absolutely.
that.
And then, and I don't ever like to scare people, but we are in a sense, the importance is helping people know that it can happen to anybody. So now you've let them in the front door. They tell you that they're here to clean out some things and you are distracted, right? Because you're in the middle of a call. Okay, great, no problem. Well, guess what? They go up in the attic and they hang out and you've never let them out and you don't think about it again. And they sit there and watch everything you do for 9 months. And they know every routine.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think a lot of people think of that cyber attack as being something that just happens in the moment, right? But
no way.
You're saying they may have gotten in long before that.
Most likely they have. And again, I use that example because the distraction piece is so key, right? They are all about distraction. We are a distracted society. And so when you get that text message that you referenced, if you are looking at it in a time where you're distracted, you might say, or you might think it said a different bank instead of Citizens because you're skimming. And now, oh yeah, I need to click on that. And so now you clicked it. Damage could be done. Who knows?
That's interesting. It's such a deeper thing than I would have really thought of it. I think it's thought of a lot as just a scattered bunch of criminals that are out there just trying to quickly make a buck, but it's much more sophisticated.
Absolutely.
So where would we move into the dealership world? Where would a dealership or a dealership group where should they start to shore up their defenses?
Well, I often point out first is that it is important to have some technology partner that you trust. So that's key one. I mean, to try to do things on your own these days, it's just not, it's too vast. There's too many things that you have to have expertise in. So find a partner that you can trust. Then begin to work on a plan. You need to look at the layers. So from a perimeter perspective, and perimeter in every single physical dealership that is connected. So if you have an internet connection, that's your perimeter. So you might have 10 locations. That means you have 10 perimeters to protect. So the beginning is protect the perimeter. Now, the next thing we want to do is protect the endpoint. And so the endpoint is everything that leverages internet. That could be a PC, it can be a laptop, it could be a Mac, it could be an iPhone, it could be an Android, anything that touches the internet. Now you need to make sure that you have protection. So how do you do all that? Well, first you have to know what all of your assets are. There has to be a way for me to say, okay, if I am your IT coach, Dave, I need to know all the devices that you use. Well, I have my office PC and I'm a phone. Okay, great. Do you ever use your home computer? Yeah, I do. I connect to the corporate network with that. Okay, now that is another thing that we have to factor in. So the endpoints are essential. Now it's all about the connectivity. So you have that home computer, the connection that you make into the corporate network, is it encrypted? Is it secured? So that is step one, is identify all of those points. Now you're layering them all. So you're layering and making sure you're protecting the perimeter, the endpoint, the communications in between, and lastly, talk to the user. We encourage that you have really, it's hard to describe, but basically, Dave, if you clicked that link yesterday, we want to make sure that you have a secure place to tell as quickly as you can, because the sooner you can tell, the faster you can respond. Yeah. So it's important to promote this sense of mistakes happen. The key is tell us the moment it happens so that we can respond quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you saying, oh yeah, that's right. 2 weeks ago, I did click on something that I shouldn't. Well, I mean, there's no way we're going to figure that out. 2 weeks. Well, I think it was a Thursday, but it could have been a Monday. Oh, okay, Dave, that's not helpful.
Yeah, and I have certainly seen in organizations where there's almost a fear around the fact that in a distracted moment you clicked on something you shouldn't have, and it's like all right, I'll just close this browser out and I don't want to tell anybody until somebody says something a couple of weeks later and was like, hey, they send, IT sends out the email, hey, we've been getting some malicious links coming through, and you're like, oh yeah, I clicked on one of those.
Right. Yeah. And so that really boils down to the organizations. The organizations have to remove that fear. They have to encourage and accept that is a part of the defense. Mm-hmm. That's a layer.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's one of the layers, right? Is making sure that you have the culture there that says, yeah, a mistake happened. How do we fix it? And how do we fix it, address it quickly? So that it becomes more fixable, if you will.
Absolutely.
So on a personal level, what should people be looking at to make sure that their defense personally is up to par? I know mine is not. And I know when you were on the Fixed Ops Mastermind Leaders Group a few months ago, one of the things that you talked about was passwords and things. Right. And I'll admit I am a password offender. I'm one of those people that if they get my password, they own a lot of stuff. So what should people be doing?
Well, and David, I would venture to say many people listening to this podcast would be similar. So certainly don't think that you were out on an island on your own. But the easiest way to respond to that is first, you need a password manager. And so LastPass, Passkeeper are some of the big players. And like for me, I have hundreds of passwords. I only know one. The one is my master password. Otherwise, if you were to say, okay, Ted, I want you to go ahead and sign up for a new login here at my Master Ops website, mm-hmm. I would log in and I would leverage my password manager to tell me what my password is going to be. I would enter it. Then I would save it in my password manager. If you said, what's your password? I would say, I don't know, because I truly don't. Mm-hmm. And now going forward, I'm going to use my password manager, not the one built into my browser, but the password manager to do my logins. And so I really, truly don't know what my passwords are, but I know that I've got good hygiene because I'm following the best practices. I also know that I'm not sharing passwords between sites, which is a huge offender.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly is, again, I don't have to remember them.
So for something like that with a password manager, which I have never used, is it, so when you go to log into a certain site, do you have to log into that manager and then look to see what your password is for that site? Or does it manage that and you just need to remember the password to your password manager account?
So it really depends how you set it up, but it can be set up so that it does all of your logins, so that you have it on your machine running. And when you go to a site, your password manager actually does the login for you and you don't have to do anything. You also can on a mobile device essentially pull it up and copy your password and now paste it into the site. But again, I've done nothing but to copy my starred password and now it's pasted in as a star. Even if you were to watch me, I'd say, I still don't know what my password is.
You don't see what it is.
Right. So that would be step one. The second thing that I would suggest for a home environment is you need to at least have some sort of malware protection. There are a lot of free ones out there, but something that allows you to at least have a level of protection, because again, it's about layers. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't have something current on your home machine, I would get something.
Makes sense. So I'm thinking of the password manager thing, but I'm thinking of, so when I log into my Chrome browser and I start to enter something in, and it'll ask to save my password. But that's not a place that you would want to do that.
I personally would recommend not doing that for a couple of reasons. One is, I think, and even just as recently as a week ago, Chrome is significantly under attack on a regular basis for a lot of good reason. And I just don't personally trust that built-in browser management. I would much rather use tools that their sole existence is to be the best at what they do. So rather than, and Microsoft's guilty of it, Google, all the big players are guilty of it. They really try to get out of their sweet space. But well, we're all guilty of it, right? I mean, we at PCA do similar things. When we are an expert at this area and we decide, well, let's dabble over here. No, we need to be the very best at what we do. And so a password manager's role is only to manage your passwords. Well, guess who's going to be the very best at it? They are.
Right. That makes sense. One of the things you mentioned early on was what was voice over internet protocol stuff. What exactly is that? I think I have a basic understanding of what it is and what the benefits are. But.
Yeah. So voice over IP is calling over the internet. And I really think that businesses that had it in place prior to COVID really saw the power of it, because when everybody was forced to go home immediately, anyone with a voice over IP system didn't miss a beat. You could literally pick up your handset, take it home and plug it into your home network, and you could be live running the same extension, the same direct dial. You could pick up and dial 100 and reach the same person that you could in the office a week ago, because it's all connected to a centralized system somewhere on the internet, whether it's hosted in a cloud or whether it's on premise at someone's organization. And it was smooth as silk to make the transition. You also, with voice over IP, can go all the way down to a mobile where you have an app loaded on the mobile. So if you were to dial my office number, you could come straight to my mobile and you would never know my mobile device. So it's coming as my normal extension. I could in turn call you and you still wouldn't know my mobile device because it would be coming from my office extension. So there was a lot of value in that. And there's a lot of metrics and back end reporting that can be very beneficial for organizations that want to manage how their calls are handled, recordings. I mean, it's very scalable in what it can bring to an organization.
Yeah, that as you were talking about that, that's what I was thinking of was the data that must be able to provide you with your phone system, as opposed to the old pick up the phone, and not that anybody dials a phone anymore, but
that's right.
Pick up the phone and call somebody that's not over the internet. Right. There's really, unless you've got a third-party integration, there's nothing there that is collecting any data on that phone call that you could use.
Exactly.
Do you see that as something? I know that's been around for a while, but do you see that as something that's starting to grow, that people are starting to realize the benefits more of?
I really do. I think that, as we continue to be a society where the lines are blurred between work and personal life, and I think in many ways COVID intensified that, not necessarily for the good. It used to be an 8 to 5 world, and now it's a midnight to midnight world, and I don't know that that's a good thing. But in order to minimize those blurs, not having to give out cell phones and instead being able to give out business lines, I think brings a sense of peace and value to individuals. So I do think that it will continue to grow. I mean, voice over IP has been around for 20 plus years, but I really feel like in the past 5, it's taken off, mainly because of internet speeds. I think that has helped tremendously when we see gigabit speeds all throughout. And it's not like voice over IP requires a lot of internet speed, but it does require stability. And so we've seen so much growth in that over the past 5 or so years that I've really seen voice over IP pick up, and I believe it'll continue to grow and evolve.
Yeah, it's kind of like the QR code, right? That's been around for a while too, and suddenly it's like the most accepted thing in the world now.
Right. Again, COVID, I think started that too, right? But that has its downsides as well. I mean, you think back, I don't know if you saw the Super Bowl ad, but that bouncing QR code.
Yes.
Do you realize how much damage that could have done if that QR code was a malicious link? Think about that.
That I actually never thought of that. I looked at the commercial as soon as I wasn't even in the room. I came walking in the room when it was playing, and I'm like, oh, that's genius right there. But
the brilliance
I've never thought of
minute. Yeah, the brilliance was it was a minute, because by about 30 seconds, I'm whatever. After 30 seconds, I finally told my kids, hey, go scan that. I want to see what happens. I'm not doing it on my phone. Yours has nothing on it of value, but go ahead and do it. But if you think about what, again, could the station have prevented that from being a malicious code? I don't think so. So the potential damage that could have been done to millions is really, it's something we need to think about.
Yeah, that's a curiosity took down the network right there, right?
That's exactly right. Yes.
Because now that you say that, I did scan it after I stood there. And
sure,
at it.
Many people did. Of course,
yeah,
it was the fact that went over 30 seconds. I think was the genius part.
Yeah,
because it just continued, and I mean, you get curious.
Yeah. Well, that was it, because I stood there and looked at it for a little while, and I'm like, wow, that's genius. And then after I looked for a little while longer, I'm like, I wonder where it takes me.
Right. Of course.
I didn't think what it could have taken from me.
That's right. That's right. We got to pay back for this commercial, so we're going to get income from.
Yeah,
that's a different approach, right?
Yeah, absolutely, certainly is. That would change Super Bowl ads forever. That's for sure. Not that there's a lot of information you can trust on a Super Bowl ad, anyways. But that would, at least they're not holding you for ransom.
Literally, yeah.
What do you see? What do you see on the horizon? Things seem to be moving so fast. What do you see on the horizon for either security threats or new things in security to help us that's out there?
I would love to see us go to a passwordless society. I think it's possible. I've studied enough to know that it could happen in the future. And conceptually, it's hard for me to explain how that is possible, but I have seen some next gen passwordless apps that could potentially change things. And I would urge everybody to keep watch on Elon Musk. Anything he touches turns to gold. And from a technology perspective, I don't know anybody that has more power in a single tweet than Elon Musk does currently. So what he does, as we look at things like flying cars, and we look at additional ways of what we call the Internet of Things, and that is this increase exponentially of things that are communicating over the wire, people like him and the minds like that are going to be essential in protecting it, because the key and the Internet of Things has really been around for a decade. And the challenge that we had at first was it was all about first to market. So it was first to market. We're going to be the first to market. Security was an afterthought. And so some companies no longer exist because of that inappropriate thinking. So as we go forward, I think enough organizations recognize if we're going to be the first to market with a flying car or anything else, security has to be at the front of it all, because the last thing we need is a flying car that is ransomed. Right. Because it's possible. Anything that is connected to the internet, including a smart home, could be ransomed. It's very possible. A smart home that's not properly patched, updated, anything else, you could come home one day and not be able to get into your house because you've been locked down.
Yeah, and I mean, nowadays people are walking around with a supercomputer on their wrist, right, with their
absolutely
Apple Android watch, and you just mentioned Elon. His Teslas are driving supercomputers. So,
right.
In fact, I was talking to Ken Anderson, our chief technology officer at Quantum 5, and he was telling me that in Tesla there were two computers. So there was one that is, running the car and taking care of that, and the other one is just collecting all the data of everything that's going on and everything that the cameras see and all that stuff, right. And making adjustments and changing things to where his GPS will adjust a route. Even if it's shorter one way, if it sees that he keeps going this way, it'll adjust and take him that way. But that there's a whole separate supercomputer in the car just doing that stuff, just processing those things.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it's an incredible world. So the lesson for everybody out there is to make sure that your security things are updated, that you've got some sort of malware blockers, and you just mentioned smart homes, probably not something that people are really thinking of, but that's what enables it, is being connected to that internet, which is where they're hanging out waiting for you, right? So
right, absolutely. Well, and I think so much of it is finding, I talked about finding that partner that you can trust. I mean, it's no different, Dave, than if I'm going to buy a car. I personally, I'm old, I guess, right? Maybe my kids are different. I want to actually have someone guide me through the process, someone that I can trust, someone that can advise me. I don't want to do it on my own. I might be able to. I don't think I'll be able to do it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that. And honestly, you can blame it on our age, but there's all kinds of features out there to allow people to schedule car appointments and things online and things. Right. And yet an overwhelming amount of people still call on the phone to talk to a person to make their appointments. So Quantum 5, one of our big things is data privacy. I just made up a new word.
It'll be trending here shortly.
We are very protective of our learners' data, and even in giving it to the dealerships that they work for. We're of the belief it's their data, it's their information and things, and it's something that's very, very important to us to maintain that privacy. And it becomes more and more important as this world becomes more and more and more connected, for people to really pay attention to those things. They're downloading a flashlight app onto their phone and giving the flashlight app permission to look at their contacts and record audio and all kinds of other stuff. And everybody clicks OK and doesn't think about, why does my flashlight need to record?
Right. That's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head, Dave. And it is, again, we've accepted it, and we've got to change our mindset and think about those things. Why does my flashlight need to know about my contacts? Or why does it need to listen to me? Well, I'll tell you why. Because it's data. It's data that can be sent up there. You called it data seat. It's to get it up there and to make sure that they have that data, because that app's free. Anytime it's free, you are the product.
Yes. I love that quote. That is such a true statement. And yesterday I was having a conversation with somebody. I don't even remember what it was. It doesn't matter what the conversation was, but I went home, and probably 45 minutes after having this conversation, I was on Instagram, and an ad on Instagram was about what we were talking about. And I'm like, okay, which one of my apps was listening to me to feed me that ad?
And it's great that you talk about that. And I have somewhat of a theory. First off, I started using DuckDuckGo a while back. And so DuckDuckGo is an alternative browser. And the thing that was so enlightening to me is what it was blocking, that it was sending to Facebook, sending to Google, sending to these places simply by me typing. The site itself would send it. And so then I thought, okay, that helps me understand how it's getting the data. And I don't take away from the fact that our phone is listening to us and Siri is listening to us, but I also think there's a psychological side of it too, Dave, that, you know, a great example is I had met with a potential new client about a month ago. 3 days after meeting with them, I was driving on the interstate and I saw one of their vehicles. Have I seen one of their vehicles before, or did I just notice that I saw one of the vehicles? So I think there's a little bit of that too, that while you were having that conversation, did you go to your browser and actually type something about it, which then fed to Facebook or Instagram, and that's how you fit. So I, you know, I'm not beyond thinking and knowing our phones are listening to us, but I also think there is a little bit of that psychological side.
Yeah, it's that reticular activating system in our brain, right?
Absolutely.
That you get that going. It's the company that you talk to and now you see them. It's right. the blue Tesla that you think you want, and then now everybody's got a blue Tesla around.
That's right.
Where did it all come from?
That's right. Yeah, they were there all along. We just didn't see them.
Yeah, just didn't see them. And that's part of your mind keeping you alive, right? Because if you noticed all that stuff all the time, your mind would explode in a ball.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree.
Good stuff. Ted, this has been an awesome conversation. Certainly gonna help some people, and I'm gonna go look up password manager because I ignored your advice the first time.
Come on, Dave. That's your homework. That's your homework.
That's it. That's what I'm doing now. Before I have lunch, I need a password manager. So I appreciate you being on. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Well, I am on LinkedIn, Ted Clouser, and I also, as I mentioned, PCA Technology Solutions. You can reach me there at pcatechsolutions.com. And again, it's an honor to be on here. I am very passionate about helping people protect themselves. And so I'm thankful to take this time and hopeful that somebody can take a nugget out of this and make themselves safe.
I'm sure they will get a whole boulder, not just a nugget, out of the things that you said. We greatly appreciate it. It's an important subject, and again, thank you for being our guest today.
My pleasure, Dave. It was an honor to be here. Thank you.